crazy, out of control. Nothing could hold me back. I could do anything that I wanted, and I thought there was no consequences. It was not a good life for me. I was not at right with myself, with the Lord, my family. I heard about a Christian death. That's what everybody was saying. There's a Christian death, and I prayed about it, and I wanted to get there, just didn't know how to get there. So one day was I remember it was a Friday. I seen a guard, and my silly told me, hey, that's the guard that does the transferring from place to place, I guess. I talked to him, and he said I showed the passion how I wanted to get on, just be around people that, which is fellow brothers that would I can lean on and pray on, and I just knew this Christian deck was first of all I didn't know it was good, but I was hoping it would be good, and I have to say it was. But I talked to the officer, and as soon as he left, I prayed. I said, Lord, if it's your will, then get me down there, and he got me down there, and that's how I found out. I mean, and I got there on a Friday night. I remember that. I remember that clearly. Ooh, 9 day. um, First off, when I got there, it was in the afternoon, and I noticed that people were more had their Bibles, and I seen people reading, and I even seen little papers flying around. I wasn't sure what they were, but just it looked like almost like homework. Um, and what really hit me the most is that first night when I got there, because again I got there on a Friday, and there really was nothing going on that day. I think, if I remember correctly. But that night, before we um before we turned in, I remember somebody saying deck prayer, and that's what kind of like it hit me right away that I was at the right place, and I felt, even though you were I was in a rough spot behind some fences. I felt a little at ease, that just a little at ease, even though that it's not a place to be at ease, I guess. We got court every month, dreading what's happening, not knowing what's happening is the worst. But CPO Ministries brought the hope, and to stay positive, and to stay loving and humble. It when I was gonna when I met with Pastor Corey, he gave me hope where there was no hope, and I know he taught me a lot. He shared a lot of things, and I shared a lot of things, some personal things, and he helped me on a lot of things outside and inside. I took that to when I went to prison. I took everything that I've gotten. It's like it's almost like God was preparing me to go to prison, even though I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to say, but I took that to prison, and I was able to still continue my studies. You know, when I got out, I continued with that. And it's a little harder. It's a little harder still because there's so much distraction and I remember Corey telling me, there's a lot more distractions out there, and you have to be firm, and but I always remember what he said. He always said that the best day you can have in here, which is prison, cannot compare to the worst day you had out here when you're free. That always sticks to me. because sometimes, when I'm struggling with personal issues or a bill here and there, I remember the fight that those words make me go through, and how it makes me feel to keep going and keep relying on God and keep relying on His teachings and His word. I think that's what I would say on that question. Excuse me. I'll answer that question with a question that I asked somebody when I had it was a legacy, and I went to it's like a conference, men's conference. It was awesome, and a pastor asked me. He said, how is your walk? And I asked, and he said, just be honest with me. And I told him, yeah, kind of rough, kind of good, kind of good days and bad days, kind of rough. I mean, it's not a struggle, but it's something that we have to keep trucking. And he told me that's the walk that everybody should be thinking about. That it's not an easy walk, but it's not a hard walk to walk the easy walk. But I think more like my walk right now is slow and steady, but not giving up. You know, when I came out, it wasn't milkshakes and cookies, and it still isn't. But I have faith in God that I will prevail and I will be where He needs me to be at. I think it's very important, and Lord willing, one day I'll be at a position where I can give what I can. But there's so many men and women behind you know what we call the walls and the cells, whatever you want to call it. But they need people like Pastor Corey and his team to be able to go in there and give them hope on whatever fate is going to happen to them, whatever it's the outcome is, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 50 years, maybe they never see light again. But CPO ministry gives them that hope to look for Jesus and just rely on Him and Him only. It's just so vital right now because there's really some people don't have no hope, some people have no friends, some people have no family anymore, or they lose them right when they get in there. I think it's a very important to keep this hope alive because that's what it is, hope for them, hope that they might lose and never regain life